All right, welcome guys. Dr. Thompson here with Exemplify Health Center, your Wellness Way affiliate right here in Yorkville, Illinois. I hope you guys are having a good Saturday morning. I know I am. Hope you guys are enjoying your weekend as well. I'll leave just a little bit of time to let some people jump on. I see some people jumping on right now. All right, guys. If you are watching right now, make sure that you say hello and make sure you let me know where you're watching from. I'm always amazed that there's a lot of people who watch who I have no idea that watch. So I think we had about 3 patients this week who actually reached out, new people, who reached out and said, I've watched all of your videos and I want help. And I'm like, I had no idea you were watching any of the videos. So I always like to know if you guys are watching, please let us know. This just lets us know, hey, to keep going and to keep pushing forward and keep helping people. So let me know where you're watching from and make sure that you like and make sure you share this video especially, all right? So this is part one of overcoming pain and inflammation. Originally I was gonna call it overcoming pain and inflammation naturally, all right? And I got rid of the whole natural type thing because one of the things this is not is that it is not saying just go ahead and start taking CBD, start taking turmeric, start taking a large amount of fish oils, start taking and just start replacing this for that. Really what we want to talk about is we want to actually start talking about overcoming pain and inflammation from the actual source, okay? We want to talk about from the actual source. I actually overheard a conversation. I was at my daughter's volleyball game, and I overheard 2 moms that were talking about how they take turmeric for pain, yet every day they wake up, they still have pain, and they just take turmeric, and it kind of takes the edge off. So are there things that, yes, can help to take the edge off when it comes to pain? Because a lot of people know that, man, the medications, those things are not doing very good things inside of my body. So I want to look for a different alternative, and it's still the same thinking. So we want to change your thinking when it actually comes down to overcoming pain and overcoming inflammation. And I realized too that this is going to be a little bit longer than what I would like to go. So I don't want to be going a whole entire hour talking about part 1 and part 2. So today I'm just going to talk about part 1. And I'll talk about really what is not working and also how this particular thing that we do in this way of thinking is actually making the problem a whole heck of a lot worse. So the first thing I'm really going to tell you is that you cannot do this. You got to stop actually doing this. And part 2 is really going to talk about solutions. Talking about solutions. Guys, chronic pain is a big time problem in the United States. We don't talk about it. We should be talking about it because every single day there are people who die unfortunately, tragically, because of them actually trying to handle chronic pain. So let's talk about chronic pain, okay? Now, too many times when people, when we talk about chronic pain, this is the mindset that we have, okay? And so, basically putting some saran wrap around a collapsing building column and somehow thinking that is going to fix it, all right? But we do that all the time, guys. We do that all the time. That's just who we are as human beings. And one of the things we always want to do is challenge you to become a better human being, okay? So our just innate survival sense is let's just put a Band-Aid on and forget about it, and hopefully it'll just go away. Kind of like this picture right there. And you guys know that this will not solve the problem. And we laugh at this, but I want you to think of, guys, how many times that you do this in your everyday life. How many times when it comes to your health, literally you're putting a Band-Aid on a bullet hole. Like you're just trying to get through your day instead of actually winning your day. This is true when it comes to your health. This is true when it comes to your relationships. This is true when it comes to your job, is that so many times we actually say, what's the least I can do so that this, the screaming symptoms will just go away and I can just put it off for another day. And so, I always tell people, don't ever ask the question, what's the least I can do? Ask the question, what must be done? What must be done? And so I'm going to talk about what must be done when it comes to inflammation and when it comes to chronic pain. And part 2, especially going over, this is the non-negotiables and some of the bare minimums that you got to do. Guys, I'm going to tell you something, is that pain is a signal. Pain is actually your body telling you that something must change, that you can no longer keep doing the same things because we're actually creating damage inside of the body that the body has to overcome and also heal. But so pain is just the signal, and basically what we're trying to do in the United States is we have a fire alarm that's going off, and we just go up to the fire alarm and we decide to let's just go ahead and put some earmuffs on, or put some some plugs in our ears, and hey, we can't hear it anymore, so the problem must be solved. Until you get to the point where now this right here is eventually you are going to collapse the building, and a lot of people are going to be hurt. So let's talk about what people do in the United States. But first I want to talk about really how many people are actually suffering just when it comes to chronic pain, okay? And the thing is that we don't want to treat pain, we want to actually treat the reason why the body is telling you this. But right now, 1 in 3 people are considered disabled before retirement. This is in the United States. We have a lot of people who are disabled. And why do we have so many people? Well, because our healthcare system is leading people down a very bad path. Our healthcare system is saying, don't worry about it, just cover it up. If it gets worse, we can either remove it or put a new joint in, or we can cut it out, or we can just have surgery on it, or just continue to hush those symptoms. So 1 in 3 people will be considered disabled before retirement. And I know that people will say this, and I can actually say, you have a 99% chance of dying from cancer or heart disease or having diabetes. And people say, yeah, but I'm going to be the one. I'm going to be that 1 in 100. And I say, well, what are you doing different than the other 99 people that makes you different, that you're not going to be that person? The number one cause of disability in the United States of those 1 in 3 people is actually arthritis, okay? And so many people come to me and they give it a fancy diagnosis. They're saying, well, I have arthritis, or I have degenerative joint disease, I have degenerative disc disease. And it's just a big fancy word that scares the bejesus out of people. And that's what we do in medicine so much, is we give a fancy diagnosis that scares people rather than just explaining what it actually is. And so arthritis really just means this. Itis means inflammation, and arthritis means joint. It's just inflammation within the joint. But it's now the number one cause of disability in the United States. How about this? 55% of Americans take a prescription medication. 55% of Americans, every man, woman, and child are taking medications right now, and the average amount of prescription medications that the average adult is taking is actually 4. What is going on in the United States? We've actually have filled 251 million opioid prescriptions in 2013, and yes, the problem is actually much worse than it was in 2013. But that was just from 2000 to 2013 was a 5-time increase. So we have literally 251 million prescriptions filled for opioid medications, and what are they for? They are for chronic pain. And we have over 42,000 deaths in 2016 that actually come from opioids. Now, let me ask you a question. Why isn't this considered an epidemic? Because it should be that 42,000 deaths every single year. So now when you are looking this over the last 20 years, you can put this into the hundreds of thousands of people that have died from something that is very preventable. It's very preventable. But the problem is why we have so many people is because people think that I have pain, I take this. Pain doesn't go away, we go stronger. If that doesn't go away, it goes stronger. And then finally, it just becomes to the point where you continue to hush the body's signals until you get to the point where you become disabled, okay? And then when you get to the point where you become disabled, then everyone else has to take care of you. So we have a system that is set up for you to be able to fail. And there's a lot of people right now that are dealing with chronic pain. Some people actually desperately want to get better, but I'll be honest with you, some people don't. Some people really don't want to get better, and they want to live, under their disability, and they don't want to work on improving themselves, okay? And so let's talk about chronic pain, guys. This is very real. I will actually tell you this, though, is that chronic pain, or pain in general, is very subjective. Pain is very subjective, however, inflammation is real. This is why some people literally can have a massive, amount of tissue damage, and they don't really feel a whole heck of a lot of pain. And this is why some people literally get a paper cut and they're screaming in agony, because it's all subjective based on a lot of different things, and a lot of it is actually emotional. So pain is actually really the emotional response to tissue damage. So it's emotional. This is why if you're depressed, pain, actually you will be ravaged with more quote unquote pain. And if you're happy, you're actually not going to feel as much pain. If you're not stressed, you're not going to feel as much pain. And if you are stressed, you're going to feel a whole heck of a lot more pain. But guys, the problem has gotten so bad, and it actually has become almost comical. I don't say that we're laughing at it, but you just look at that and you want to just shake your head and you say, really? Why don't people actually see this? Now watch. The problem has gotten so bad that now actually drug manufacturers have actually come out with new drugs in order to counteract the side effects of the actual pain medication. So now, guys, they actually have drugs that they develop to counteract the side effects of the other drugs that they develop. You talk about a beautiful business model. Holy cow. First of all, they're creating the problem, give them a solution that then creates another problem, and then give another solution for it. Wow. Who would ever have thought of this? Talk about just a slam dunk as far as a business model is concerned. And here's a perfect example, is that here is a prescription medication that's specifically designed for what's known as opioid-induced constipation. Opioid-induced constipation. See, one of the side effects of taking opioid medications is constipation, and I see it all the time, is that now they have medications where let's just go ahead and give you another drug because now you're going to be constipated. And guys, I will tell you this. If you are constipated, you are having a very bad day. And the reason why is because when people say, Dr. Nate, what's bad? Diarrhea or constipation? I said, well, they're both bad, but I would rather have diarrhea than actually have constipation. And the reason why, guys, is if you understand how the liver actually removes and metabolizes drugs, toxins, things like that, is that it's actually removed through the liver into the actual gallbladder, and then it goes into the intestines and it's removed that way, which means is that if your liver is actually trying to push toxins into the small intestine to get pushed down and then eliminated through your bowels, if you're constipated all the time, that bile is just sitting there with all kinds of hormones and toxins and things like that. And it's much more likely that it actually will start to change the microbiome in the large intestine. But not only that, it will actually give it a greater chance for it to seep through and get reabsorbed in through the bloodstream and then recirculated throughout the body. So this right here is real, that now we have so many different medications in order to counteract the effects of opioid medications, okay? Now, this is the thing, guys, is I don't like to rant. I really don't like to rant about, the wrongs because, I personally feel, and, following certain people on social media and things like that is, they're always ranting against things. And I'm always like, well, what are you for? What are you for? Part 2, I'm going to talk about what I'm for. But anyone who just keeps ranting about what they're against all the time, we get really tired of that. So I'll always tell you, this is what I am for. I'm more pro-health than I am against things. But guys, at some point, it gets to a point where you got to have a little bit of righteous anger, a little bit of righteous indignation. When something is wrong, people need to know about it. And because the problem is that people have been lied to and they haven't been given a choice and their lives have been devastated as a result. So I'll give you a perfect example. There's a lot of people out there who have a lot of arthritic type conditions. There's a lot of different reasons why people have arthritic type conditions. Part 2, we talk about blood sugar, we talk about chronic inflammation, we talk about even food allergies, we talk about what's happening at the liver, the foods that you eat, structural alignment, lack of motion, lack of movement, things like that. But a lot of people, just remember, when a drug is coming to the market, it means that there is a need for it. It means that there is a demand from people for it. And so what people were taking back into the 80s and the 90s, and things like that, is that they were taking a lot of opioid medication when pain was really bad, things like morphine, things like that. They were also taking a lot of what are known as non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. So they were taking things like aspirin, ibuprofen, Aleve, things like that, and they knew that there were a lot of side effects from doing that, particularly when it came to the gastrointestinal system. So back in the late 90s, these pharmaceutical companies, what they decided to do is wow, can we actually come up with some kind of medication that isn't going to have all of these gastrointestinal side effects? And what they came up with is a new type of drug, and they were called COX-2 inhibitors, which basically is just inhibiting an enzyme reaction when it comes to pain formation within the nerve system. And so they came up with these things that were known as Celebrex. It came up with Vioxx, came up with Bextra. So those, basically were the same mechanism of action, different pharmaceutical companies who came up with it. So here this was this huge race to come up with this new, brand new, bright, shiny, arthritis medication that would go to the market. And so they all came out with these three. But the problem was this, is that, I'll give you an example. So Merck, one of the pharmaceutical companies, is, these started in the mid to late 90s, I think. And so this was, doctors were prescribing this like candy to people who had arthritis. So they're giving them Vioxx, they're giving them Celebrex. Give me a like, guys, if you knew people who were on these medications. They were on Bextra. Now the thing is in 2004, someone's like, there's a problem here. There was a person within the FDA, ended up getting fired for it. But he said, guys, I've done the research. And what I'm actually finding is I'm finding that there is actually a lot of people who are dying from taking these medication. And in fact, what they're dying from is, in their pursuit of not having quote unquote arthritis, is that they're dying from heart attacks and they're dying from strokes. Now, in 2004, Vioxx, they pulled this from the market because they said, yes, in fact, this is causing an increase in heart attack and stroke. However, in 2001, they had actually already knew based on research and based on a meta-analysis and going back and looking at things, is that they said patients that were on Vioxx were 4 times more likely to have a heart attack. So you had a 400% increase in your risk of having a heart attack if you were on these medications. Now here's the thing. The pharmaceutical company Merck actually knew this. They knew this in their clinical trials, that there was going to be a significant increase in heart attack and strokes when people were taking these medications. And they actually buried the data, they buried the research, and they said, put it on the market, let's go ahead and let's go with it. So they 100% knew that this was going to happen, but they also knew that if we do this, this is going to be a blockbuster drug. We're going to make a lot of money from doing this. So let's just take some of the proceeds, let's put it into a kitty, and let's save that money for all of the lawsuits we're going to have. It just so ends up that really when it came to the lawsuits, because they knew that this was going to cause a lot of heart attack and strokes, is that they knew that it only came out to about 10% of their proceeds. Okay? Now, if I sell this, I'll actually just tithe 10% back to the people who are killed, injured, and maimed. That's called business when it comes to them, because lives don't matter. Money matters. Their investors matter. But grandma, grandpa, mom, dad, your sister, your brother, to them, it really doesn't matter. And I hate ranting about this. The reality is that it's true. Remember, every drug that has been approved by the FDA, that has been taken off the market by the FDA, was first approved by the FDA. Does that make sense? And so when you look at this, I want you to know something. Who else has manufactured, Merck, what do they also manufacture? Okay? What do they also manufacture? Well, they manufacture the current COVID-19 mRNA vaccines, or I'd actually say immunotherapy. Okay? So they manufacture that as well. Let me ask you a question. If this company has been fined billions of dollars, do you really think that they have found Jesus when it came to the new vaccine? Do you really think that they have? They don't care. They don't care, especially when it comes to having a vaccine, that they have absolutely zero liability if there are any side effects from this. Here, there's liability. They can pay for it easily, but even when it comes to a current vaccine, they have absolutely zero liability and 100% protection. They won't have to pay for anything. So you guys have to start asking this question. Have these companies, have they really found Jesus? Or are they willing to kill, maim, and destroy people's lives for the pursuit of money? You just have to ask that question. You have to answer that question yourself. So, people are like, well, okay, I'm not going to take this for pain. We know that opioids are a major, major issue. They're causing so many overdose deaths. They're destroying people's lives. The Celebrex, the Bextra, the Vioxx, those have destroyed people's lives. But okay, well, I'm just going to go ahead and take, I guess some aspirin, Tylenol, Aleve, naproxen, whatever you want to call it. Let's just go ahead and take that because I can buy that at Hy-Vee. I can buy that at Costco. I can buy it at Walgreens. I can buy it at Walmart. I can buy it anywhere. So it must be actually safe. Okay, it must be safe. And so, what do you talk about over-the-counter medications, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs? Well, here's what the research is. All of this is actually right down here, and it's referenced, is that daily aspirin use increases the risk of pancreatic cancer. Well, why do we take an aspirin every single day? Well, sometimes we take it for pain, but you know what we're also taking it for? We're also taking an aspirin every single day in order to quote-unquote prevent a heart attack. Guys, go ahead and read the research about that. Doctors are actually saying now, we shouldn't actually be prescribing baby aspirin to prevent a heart attack or a stroke. And so actually research says don't do it anymore. If your doctor is still doing it, they're not even up on the current research. Pregnant women, for example, who use NSAIDs and aspirin increase the risk of miscarriage by 80%. Okay? When a mom starts to take NSAIDs, remember, the liver has to process it. The liver has to process it, but when you have a developing baby inside of you, they are much more sensitive to these changes in chemicals that really don't belong inside the body. NSAIDs cause peptic ulcers. They reduce bone healing, bone formation, and remodeling. This is what's amazing, is that there's even a study out there, and it's actually the Journal American Academy of Orthopedic Surgeons, and this is actually 16 years of age, and I love old research because it hasn't been disproven, but they said you break a bone and you take NSAIDs for the pain, it will actually delay the healing of that bone. Because remember this, you break a bone, you have to have an inflammatory response. So this is what's so true. You have tissue damage. I don't take anything for it. And so why would I want to hinder the very inflammatory process that's actually there designed to heal you as quickly as possible? Guys, this is why I don't take any kind of non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. This is also why I don't even ice. Because why, if I have an acute inflammation, if I have an acute injury, why would I want to go in and try to cool down the area and start to restrict the blood flow? Because that's how the immune system gets in there and starts to heal. Yes, I understand that it actually hurts. However, anytime that you're doing that, you are actually restricting the acute inflammatory process, which is good, and that's actually there for you to allow you to be able to heal as quickly as possible. How about this one? No evidence that an aspirin a day reduces the risk of having a heart attack. This is really hard for people to stomach because it's easier to trick people than it is to actually tell people that they have been tricked. When you look at this, actually one of the things that will happen when you're taking an aspirin every single day is that it will inhibit the clotting mechanism, so you're much more likely to have a hemorrhagic stroke than the reduced risk of you having a heart attack. So that really doesn't make a whole lot of sense saying, yeah, I'm reducing my risk of having a heart attack really by 1%, but I'm increasing my risk of having a hemorrhagic stroke by about 4 or 5%. Makes sense? So over-the-counter medications are something that you can't do as well. So now you might be thinking, well, I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't do this. What on earth am I supposed to do? Well, it even goes much more deeper than that because actually painkillers can cause pain. So we know now that if you're taking painkillers all the time, not only are they, yes, they can block a pain sensation, it's devastating and it's damaging to the body, but this can get to a point where now it's actually causing the thing that you're taking it for. So here's what they found, and this was in Neurology 2004, and they called it when painkillers cause pain. And they said daily or near daily use of painkillers for 6 months or more increase or either caused they caused an increased likelihood of chronic migraine headaches by 20 times, not 20%, 20 times. Chronic non-migraine headaches by 9.5 times. Chronic neck pain 3.5 times. Chronic lower back pain by 3.5 times. So what is one of the biggest sources of disability in the United States? Some of the biggest sources. Actually, one of them is depression, but the other ones are headaches, neck pain, and back pain. And the very thing that we think are helping with it are now actually causing it. And we call that a rebound phenomenon, which means the medication wears off and the nerve system is so used to you having those chemicals that will produce a pain signal so that you put them back into the body. How crazy is that, guys? Guys, please make sure that you share this video because there are so many people right now who are suffering and they don't know where to turn. When you share that video, you might give that person a little bit of hope. So this is the problem when it comes to healthcare right now. And it's the whole idea of the bullfighting is what you call it. Okay, I've never seen this in person, but the whole idea behind bullfighting is, here you have a matador, and the matador waves this red cape, and the bull comes out, and the bull is just chasing the cape. He's chasing what the matador is waving. And if the bull would just quickly realize that I should actually go after the person waving the cape and not the big red flashing cape, then I probably would win this a lot quicker. And the problem is when it comes to healthcare is it's all about chasing after the cape and not actually chasing after who's holding the cape. See, we're chasing after symptoms. We're not chasing after the cause. We're chasing after, all I just want to do is just get through my day and take the blood pressure medication, take the cholesterol medication, let's take the pain medication, let's just take the medication and let's just get through my day, only to wake up and be miserable to try to get through my day. Guys, people are just getting through their day and they're not getting anything from their day. Their symptoms are running their day versus their health that's running their day. So we have to stop chasing the symptoms, yes, even chasing the symptoms naturally as well. So this could be anything. So the pain, okay, any kind of symptom whatsoever, but a lot of times what we're doing is that we're chasing it with medications or even chasing it with natural things as well. Well, let's chase it with some turmeric. Let's chase it with some ginger. Let's chase it with some CBD oil. And yes, I've recommended those people those things, but it was with the intention of actually creating enough healing so that we could take them off of it at some point. See, if you've been taking turmeric, which is natural, Dr. Oz recommended, and you're taking turmeric for the last 3 years, we have to have a conversation of why you would need that turmeric for 3 years. So it's time that we actually start looking to the cause. We have to start looking at the cause. We can no longer be a nation of weak drug takers. Really. We have become so weak, we become so inflamed, we become so deconditioned, we've become so depressed, we have become literally just like we've devolved from where we were actually created to be in the first place. So just like I said at the beginning, that inflammation is real. Inflammation is very real. Why? Because you can measure it. You can measure it in a lot of different tests that you can get. But pain is entirely subjective, all right? Now, it may feel very real to you, but really all pain is that it's the emotional perception of that inflammation. And again, this is why, if you're depressed, pain can be magnified. If you're happy, you might not notice a whole heck of a lot of pain. And you've also have noticed, people who, their adrenaline is way up and they have a massive injury and you're like, wow, that should really hurt. And yet, here they are still running around on a broken bone or a blown out ACL or whatever. And like, how on earth were they able to do that? They both had the same amount of tissue damage, but there's different factors when it comes in the perception of pain. But chronic inflammation is linked to nearly every single disease. Every single chronic degenerative disease or condition really has a foundation of chronic inflammation. So chronic inflammation, if I said, hey, if you're inflamed, everyone talks about pain, but here's what chronic inflammation actually leads to. So yes, it can cause pain, but it can lead to cardiovascular disease. Chronic inflammation leads to type 2 diabetes. Chronic inflammation can lead to chronic inflammatory diseases of the bowels, things like irritable bowel syndrome, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, Crohn's disease. It leads to any kind of autoimmune disease as well. Chronic inflammation leads to things like osteoporosis, yes, osteoarthritis, degenerative disc disease. It can lead to cancer, guys, as well. Inflammation, metabolic disorders, fatty liver disease, heart disease. This is why, if you're chronically inflamed, it makes it very hard for you even to be able to burn fat as an energy source. And even neurological disorders, guys. Things like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, dementia. This has a foundation of chronic inflammation. Guys, this is why when you think of things like joint pain in people and joint replacements, the people really who are having the joint replacements due to degenerative disc disease are in fact having problems with blood sugar issues, are having, who are diabetic or pre-diabetic, who have a chronically inflamed liver, who are suffering with obesity and having a high body fat percentage. All of those are just driving inflammation even more. So guys, inflammation is real, and that's why every day when you wake up, you should be thinking about, what am I doing in order to prevent inflammation from happening from a chemical, from a mental, and from a physical perspective. And if you can get that under control and you can learn on what you need to do in order to do that, you can become your own physician. You can become your best physician. Yes, there are certain things that only I can do for you, but the whole goal of what we want to do at the office is we want to be able to empower you to the point where you don't need our help in the same way that you needed it when you came in, unless you made the decision to never change your lifestyle, unless you made the decision to continue being sassy, until you make the conscious decision that there's nothing that you're going to give up and you're still going to continue to live the same destructive life. Once people know that and they start taking charge of their health, then they're empowered. And then they start to gain a whole new freedom, because chronic pain is putting people in chains, and it really is. And they're becoming slaves. They're becoming slaves to their conditions. And we want people to be free. We want them to have free bodies. We want them to have free health. We want them to have the choice and not be bound to their limitations anymore. So inflammation is so real, and it's literally the spark that produces chronic degenerative disease. So how do you handle this? You handle this from a physical perspective. You handle this from a chemical perspective. You handle this from a mental perspective, because all three legs of those stool can lead to inflammation, whether you're mentally stressed, whether you're chemically stressed, or whether you have physical stress. So when you look at this, I want you to think of it, your health is like a stool. You need three legs in order to sit on a stable stool, which means that if you take one of the legs, the stool becomes wobbly. You take two of the legs and you can't sit on it at all. But I'm going to ask you a question. How many of you are handling inflammation and handling your health using the mental means, the chemical means, but then also the physical means? And there's a distinct difference between all of those three. Now, guys, if you're watching from the Yorkville area, coming up August 3rd, which is on a Tuesday night at 6 o'clock here at our office, Exemplify Health Center, we're going to be talking about inflammation. So the inflammation, we're going to go into inflammation in a lot more detail, but we're going to talk specifically about where people are becoming inflamed from a chemical, physical, and from a mental standpoint, and also what we do in order, by using advanced testing, in order to figure out really what is causing and what is driving that inflammation. So it's free to register for that. Reach out to me if you want to come. I'll give you the link that you can go ahead and register for that inflammation talk. But coming up very soon, I may do it next week, but I know I need to be out of town. So if I do it, it might be on next Friday. So if you can't join us live, you can always go back and watch the replay. And if I don't, in fact, get to it, because I don't know what my schedule looks like for next week, in 2 weeks, we're going to talk about part 2, which is really about talking about solutions, non-surgical, non-drug solutions, but really also non-supplement solutions when it comes to that as well. So join me, guys, for part 2. And when we decide when we're going to do that, we'll give you guys a shout out to make sure that you know when to actually join us live. If you have any questions, let us know. Send us a message. Reach out to us in the comments below. We would love to be a part of your healing journey. So guys, I hope you enjoy your Saturday. Be well. Again, please make sure that you share this. And I always appreciate all of you joining us. So guys, be well. Have an awesome weekend. And we'll see you very soon.